Ladies and gentlemen, there are seasons in life when silence speaks louder than words. Seasons where God isn't asking you to explain yourself, defend yourself, prove yourself. He's asking you to be still and trust His timing. When you stay quiet and focused, you give heaven permission to move. You create room for divine alignment because miracles don't need noise. They need faith, discipline, and focus. Many people miss their breakthrough because they can't stand the silence. They want to announce every move, post every plan, prove every point. But some of the greatest victories are born in the dark, in silence, in stillness, when no one is watching. The seed doesn't make noise when it's growing. Butterfly doesn't make noise when it's transforming. The miracle doesn't make noise when it's forming. That's why you must learn to stay quiet and stay focused, because heaven is working behind the scenes while the world is asleep. Stop explaining your process to people who aren't assigned to understand it. Stop broadcasting what God told you in private. Not everyone deserves access to your preparation season. The more you talk, the more you leak power. The more you focus, the more you multiply progress. You are not being ignored. You are being prepared. You are not being forgotten. You are being hidden for the right moment. Quiet season is divine training ground. Stay consistent, stay focused, stay humble. Because when the time is right, God will bring the miracle out of the silence. There are moments in life when God seems quiet. The prayers feel unanswered, the doors remain closed, and the silence feels heavy. It's easy to assume that nothing is happening, that heaven has gone still, that your faith has gone unnoticed. What if that silence is not absence? What if it's divine strategy? If the quiet places in your life are the very stages where heaven is setting up your breakthrough? Silence is not punishment. It's preparation. When God is quiet, He's not ignoring you. He's working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet perceive. Every delay, every quiet stretch, every season where you feel overlooked is part of a larger divine movement. God often moves in silence because what He's building in you requires stillness, discipline, and trust. When you study creation, you notice that nothing powerful begins with noise. The seed grows underground in silence. The baby develops in the womb in silence. The stars form in the vast, quiet space of the universe. Heaven's greatest works are born in quiet places, hidden from the eyes of men, but never hidden from the hand of God. We live in a world addicted to noise. We crave validation, constant communication, and immediate updates. We post our progress, announce our plans, and want to be seen in every stage of our process. Divine movement doesn't work that way. God's strategies are often wrapped in secrecy. He hides what He's doing to protect it from premature exposure. He revealed everything too early. The enemy would interfere and you would lose focus before the miracle fully matured. So He hides you. He allows seasons of silence to shape your character and deepen your faith. Silence becomes the soil where your patience grows and your purpose is refined. It's in that stillness that you learn to listen differently. Not to the noise of the world, but to the whisper of the Spirit. God often speaks most clearly when everything else is quiet. Think about it. When you're constantly moving, talking, or striving, it's hard to discern divine direction. But when you quiet your soul, you create space for divine alignment. Silence is not empty. It's full of spiritual energy, full of unseen movement, full of divine orchestration. What feels like a pause to you is often God rearranging everything around you to make room for what's coming. Sometimes, silence is heaven's way of protecting your next season. If you heard everything that was about to unfold, you might rush it, speak it too soon, invite the wrong people into the process. But silence guards destiny. It builds humility. It teaches you that not every move needs to be announced. Every revelation needs to be shared, and not every blessing needs an audience. The greatest miracles are not always loud. They are quiet shifts that change everything. The moment God breathes purpose into your spirit doesn't come with thunder, it comes with peace. The moment a new door opens in heaven doesn't always echo on earth immediately, but when it manifests, you realize that every silent season was sacred. It was building something far beyond what your eyes could see. Silence also exposes your faith. It's easy to trust when you can hear, when you can see signs, when you feel movement. But silence tests what you truly believe. It asks, can you still trust me when I say nothing? Can you still obey when you don't understand? Can you still move forward when you don't hear applause? Faith built in silence is unshakable because it's not built on signs. It's built on relationship. Care enough. It's built on the knowledge that even when you can't trace God, you can still trust Him. You begin to realize that silence doesn't mean absence, it means something sacred is in motion. When you stay quiet, you're not doing nothing. You're aligning. You're positioning yourself for divine momentum. You're saying, Lord, I may not understand it, but I'll stay still until you move. And when heaven sees that kind of posture, a posture of surrender, trust, and focus, divine movement accelerates. Miracles don't require noise, they require alignment. And alignment often happens in silence. That's why some seasons in your life feel still. Not because you've stopped growing, but because you're being positioned for something greater. God is setting the stage, aligning the people, preparing the opportunities, and developing your strength. The silence is part of the strategy. You can't rush divine timing. When you're in a season of silence, resist the temptation to fill it with unnecessary noise. Don't force answers. Seek validation from the wrong places. Let the silence do its work. Let it mature your perspective and refine your spirit. Because when God finally moves, it will be so powerful that you'll on the silence had to come first. The truth is, silence is sacred ground. It's where you learn to depend on God completely. It's where you learn to let go of control and trust the process. It's where you stop explaining yourself to people and start communicating directly with heaven. And in that divine quietness, miracles begin to unfold, not because of your effort, but because of your surrender. So if you're walking through a quiet season right now, don't misinterpret it. Don't call it abandonment when it's actually alignment. Don't call it stillness when it's really strategy. You are not forgotten. You're being set apart. You are not stuck. You're being positioned. God is doing something sacred behind the scenes that requires your silence. When the miracle finally arrives, you'll look back and realize that every moment of stillness was necessary. The silence was never wasted. It was divine preparation. It was heaven set up for movement. Every unanswered prayer, every quiet night, every tear that fell in secret, all of it was part of the setup, because silence doesn't mean God isn't speaking. It means He's moving in a way that words can't describe. And when His plan finally unfolds, it will speak for itself, loud enough for every doubter, every critic, and every obstacle to hear. So stand firm in the silence. Trust the stillness. Stay focused and grounded. Because when heaven moves, it will happen suddenly and it will happen powerfully. The silence you feared will become the stage where your miracle is revealed. Focus is one of the most powerful spiritual and practical forces on earth. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't always look impressive from the outside, but it has the power to change everything. Focus is the invisible force that turns dreams into reality, faith into action, and potential into purpose. It's the difference between being busy and being effective, between trying and truly becoming. In a world full of distractions, focus has become a rare and precious weapon every day. Something is fighting for your attention. Social media, opinions, noise, and negativity. The enemy of destiny doesn't always come in a form of failure or fear. Sometimes it comes disguised as distraction. If the enemy can't destroy you, he'll try to distract you, because a distracted mind can't hear divine direction. A scattered heart can't hold sacred assignments. That's why focus is not optional. It's essential. It is the ability to tune out everything that doesn't align with your purpose and tune in to what truly matters. Focus is what separates those who dream from those who do. It's what keeps you grounded when others are drifting. It's the discipline that says, don't need to do everything, I just need to do what God called me to do and do it well. When you are focused, you become dangerous to anything that tries to limit you. You stop wasting time explaining yourself to people who don't understand your mission. You stop chasing validation and start chasing growth. You realize that not everyone deserves access to your attention, because attention is energy. Energy builds destiny. Focus sharpens your faith. It keeps your vision clear when the journey feels long. It helps you recognize divine timing and resist unnecessary detours. When you are focused, you stop reacting to everything and start responding with purpose. You no longer allow every opinion, every obstacle, or every emotion to pull you off course. You begin to understand that not every battle is worth fighting. Every invitation deserves your yes. And not every opportunity is meant for this season. Focus brings wisdom, teaches you to guard your time like treasure and your peace like gold, because what you focus on will ultimately shape who you become. If you focus on problems, they will grow larger. If you focus on possibilities, your faith will grow stronger. Your focus determines your fruit. That's why you must protect it at all costs. Focus is not about ignoring life. It's about prioritizing purpose. It's about knowing what deserves your attention and what deserves your silence. Every great movement in history began with someone who chose to focus. The builders, the visionaries, the dreamers, they all had to shut out the noise. They had to ignore the critics, silence the doubts, and stay committed to the goal when it was easier to give up. Focus doesn't mean the absence of obstacles. It means the presence of discipline. It's the ability to keep moving in one direction, even when everything tries to pull you away. There will be moments when your focus will be tested, when life feels chaotic, when distractions multiply, when fear whispers louder than faith. That's when focus becomes your weapon. It cuts through confusion. It pierces through fear. It silences the noise. It reminds you why you started and who you are becoming. A focused person doesn't chase every opportunity. They wait for divine alignment. They don't waste energy proving their worth. They invest energy in fulfilling their assignment. Focus keeps you humble because it keeps you aware of your mission. It keeps you faithful in the small things so you can be trusted with greater things. When you lose focus, you lose clarity. You start comparing yourself to others, doubting your progress, questioning your worth. But when you stay focused, you realize that every season has a reason. You don't rush what God is building. You don't compete with anyone else's timeline. You trust that what's meant for you won't miss you, but it requires your full attention. Focus is also a form of worship. It says, Lord, I trust you enough to stay still where you planted me. I trust you enough to stay committed to the assignment you gave me. It's an act of faith that declares, even if I don't see progress right now, I know something is growing beneath the surface. Because focus and faith walk hand in hand. The world will always tempt you to scatter your energy, to do too much, to rush the process, to chase what looks shiny but lacks substance. But focus calls you back to center. It whispers, stay here, grow here, be faithful here. Because when you focus on what truly matters, everything else begins to align. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stay focused on the task in front of you, not complaining, not comparing. Just showing up every day, giving your best, and trusting that small steps will lead to big breakthroughs. Greatness is built in quiet, consistent focus, not in flashes of excitement or bursts of emotion. Focus is not a one-time decision, it's a daily discipline. Every morning you wake up, you must decide what deserves your mind, your time, and your energy. You must choose whether to feed distraction or feed destiny. You must choose whether to drift or to direct your focus toward what truly matters. The more you focus, the clearer your vision becomes. The clearer your vision, the stronger your faith grows. And when your faith grows, miracles begin to manifest. Because focus creates spiritual momentum, opens your eyes to divine opportunities, and keeps you steady when storms arise. So guard your focus, protect your peace, set boundaries. Not everyone can walk with you in every season. Not everyone can understand the silence or the discipline that focus demands. But you're not called to be understood. You're called to be effective. When you stay focused, you become unstoppable. You're not swayed by temporary emotions or distracted by temporary applause. You're anchored by purpose. You know where you're going? You're willing to wait, work, and walk it out. And when the time comes, everything you've been building quietly will speak loudly. Fruit of your focus will testify for you. The doors will open. The blessings will flow. The miracle will manifest. You'll look back and realize that every moment of focus was worth it every time you said no. every distraction you ignored, every delay you endured. Because focus is not just your weapon, it's your power, it's your protection, it's your path to destiny. When you master focus, you master yourself. When you master yourself, you align with divine purpose. And when you align with divine purpose, nothing can stop what heaven has set in motion. So stay focused. Don't look to the left or the right. Don't let noise pull you away from your assignment. Keep your eyes on the vision, your heart on the mission, and your faith on the one who called you. Because the moment you choose focus over distraction, you choose destiny over delay. And when you do, you'll discover that focus is your greatest weapon, the quiet force that makes the impossible possible, the invisible strength that turns potential into purpose, and the divine discipline that turns your waiting into winning. There comes a time in every person's life when everything seems still, when progress feels slow, doors remain closed, and recognition is nowhere to be found. It's a season where it feels like the world has forgotten you, like your prayers are echoing into silence. These are the hidden seasons, the moments when God takes you out of the spotlight to develop what the crowd cannot see. And though they may feel quiet, lonely, and uncertain, these seasons are never wasted. Hidden seasons are divine classrooms. They are where strength is built, faith is refined, and character is tested. You might think that nothing is happening, but in reality, heaven is doing its deepest work in your soul. The hidden seasons are not a delay in your destiny, they are the foundation of it. Before a tree rises above the ground, its roots must go deep below it. Deeper the roots, the higher the tree can grow. In the same way, your hidden seasons are where your roots are growing deep in faith, deep in humility, deep in trust. God is preparing you for the weight of what's coming, because visibility without maturity can destroy destiny. World celebrates exposure, but God values preparation. Everyone wants the stage, but few understand the silence that comes before it. You may be praying for elevation while God is saying, "Let me strengthen your foundation first." Because if he gives you the promise before you're ready, blessing might break you. So he hides you not to harm you, but to prepare you. When God hides you, it's not rejection, it's protection. He keeps you away from certain opportunities, certain people, and certain platforms because they are not aligned with your current season. He is building something sacred inside of you: patience, endurance, focus, and faith. And those qualities can only be developed in private. Look at the pattern throughout Scripture and life before every public victory. There was a private season of obscurity. David was anointed to be king. He went back to the pasture to care for sheep. Moses was called to lead a nation, but he spent 40 years in the wilderness. Even the greatest assignments were shaped in solitude. The hidden season is God's training ground, the place where your faith grows stronger than your fear and your obedience outweighs your need for attention. In the hidden season, God teaches you to depend on him alone. You stop performing for applause and start living for purpose. You learn that not every door that opens is divine and not every opportunity is ordained. You begin to discern the difference between being seen by man and being sent by God. Discernment is what sustains you when you eventually step into visibility. The hidden season is also a place of pruning. God removes what can't grow with you: relationships, habits, mindsets, and attitudes that no longer serve your purpose. It hurts, but it's holy. You may lose things that once made you feel comfortable, but that's because comfort doesn't produce growth. The pruning makes space for fruit. It's easy to mistake hiddenness for stagnation. You may look at others and feel like they're moving faster, achieving more, living the life you've been praying for. But comparison is the thief of peace, and it blinds you to the work God is doing within you. Your timeline is not delayed, it's divine. What God is developing in you during this season will sustain you in the next one. Don't despise your hidden season. It's the place where God teaches you to fight in faith before the world ever sees your victory. It's where he molds your heart to handle blessing with humility. It's where he refines your motives so that when the spotlight finally shines, it won't change who you are. You see, public success without private strength is fragile. Many people want the reward, but not the refining. But the refining is what ensures that when your moment comes, you'll be ready for it. The hidden season builds the kind of endurance that fame, fortune, or failure can't take away. It builds inner strength, the kind that no title or applause can replace. You may not see results yet. Trust that growth is happening. The seed doesn't sprout the moment it's planted. It spends time buried, unseen, surrounded by darkness. Something powerful is taking place beneath the surface. The soil is breaking the outer shell, releasing potential that could never come forth in the light. Time is right. That seed will rise, strong-rooted and ready to bear fruit. In the same way, you are not buried, you are being planted. There's a difference. Burial means the end. Planting means a new beginning. And though the hidden season may feel like the end of something, it's actually the birthplace of your next chapter. God is setting you up for something greater than you can imagine. But he must first prepare you to handle it. During these quiet times, keep showing up, keep praying, keep working even when no one is clapping. The hidden season is where discipline is built, where your why becomes stronger than your when. It's where you learn to serve faithfully in small things, even when you feel unseen. Because when you are faithful in obscurity, God can trust you with opportunity. Don't rush the process. The same God who promised to elevate you knows exactly when to reveal you. If he's keeping you hidden, it's because the stage isn't ready yet. Or maybe you aren't ready for the stage. Either way, his timing is perfect. What's meant for you will not miss you, but it must mature before it manifests. There's beauty in being hidden. It's in those quiet moments that you learn who you are, without titles, without applause, without approval. You learn that your identity is rooted in purpose, not position. You learn to hear God's voice clearly because there are no competing sounds. You learn to be content with being unseen because you trust that heaven still sees you. And one day, when the hidden season ends and the light finds you, you'll realize that you're no longer the same person who went in. You'll carry wisdom, strength, and grace that only time with God could produce. You'll understand why certain doors had to stay closed and why certain people couldn't walk with you. You'll see that every quiet day, every lonely night, every hidden moment was necessary, because hidden seasons are not wasted. They are sacred. They are where the foundation of greatness is laid, where God rewrites your story in private before revealing it in public. So if you're in a hidden season right now, don't give up. Challenge, you're loving enough and care enough. You're being prepared. You're not delayed. You're being developed. One day, challenge you to love enough. Everything you've been waiting for will come into alignment, and you'll look back and thank God for the seasons you couldn't understand. You'll realize that the hidden places were holy places. The cocoon that protected your purpose until it was ready to fly. There is a sacred power in silence, especially when something divine is growing within you. Too often, we feel an urge to speak before things are ready. We get a glimpse of what God is doing, a spark of revelation, a whisper of purpose, and we want to tell the world. We want people to see the vision before it becomes reality. But wisdom says, don't announce what's still developing. What is spoken too soon can be weakened before it has time to mature. Every divine idea, dream, or calling goes through a development process. Just like a seed planted in the ground, it must first be hidden. It needs darkness, stillness, and protection to grow strong roots. The moment you pull that seed out to show it to others, you stop its growth. It's the same with the things God plants in your spirit. If you expose them before they're ready, you can disrupt the process heaven is orchestrating in silence. There's a reason why God works quietly in certain seasons. He's not trying to hide blessings from you. He's trying to protect them for you. Some things are too delicate for public exposure. Some miracles can only grow in the soil of privacy. Some plans must remain between you and God until he says, now, In this age of oversharing, silence has become a forgotten discipline. We want instant recognition, instant validation, instant applause. We think that if others don't see what we're doing, then it must not be real. True faith doesn't need an audience, it just needs obedience. When you truly believe that God is at work, you don't need to prove it, you just need to protect it. When God gives you a vision, a dream, or an assignment, He doesn't need you to announce it, He needs you to nurture it. Like a mother carrying a child, some things must be carried quietly. Not everyone can handle your pregnancy season. Some people won't understand what God is forming in you. Others might try to discourage it, question it, sabotage it. That's why discernment is crucial. You must know who to share with and who to stay silent around. There are times when your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. You're not being secretive, you're being strategic. You're not hiding, you're protecting. You're allowing God to complete what He started before exposing it to a world that may not be ready to receive it. Because not everyone will celebrate what's developing in you. Some will doubt it, others will envy it, and a few will try to destroy it before it's born. Even in Scripture, God moved in silence before He revealed His plans. When Mary received the news that she would carry something divine, she didn't go around broadcasting it. She treasured those words in her heart. She understood that some revelations are meant to be pondered, not published. Because the moment you start talking too soon, you give others the power to speak into what God is still shaping. The enemy doesn't fear what he can see. He fears what he can't predict. That's why secrecy is a spiritual shield. When you keep what's developing in your spirit between you and God, you keep it safe from unnecessary interference. Every time you speak prematurely, you open the door for opposition, confusion, or doubt. But when you stay quiet and stay focused, you allow God to do His work without disturbance. There's a time to testify, but there's also a time to be still. Testimonies are powerful. But timing matters. If you testify before the story is complete, you risk confusing your audience and weakening your faith. Some things aren't ready to be shared because they're not yet finished. God is still writing the chapters, still arranging the details, still aligning the pieces. Announcing too early can invite criticism that your heart isn't yet strong enough to handle. The truth is, development takes time. Growth happens in stages. Begins as an idea, must go through the refining of process, where God tests your patience, builds your character, and strengthens your resolve. That process is holy. It's not meant to be rushed or exposed. It's meant to be lived quietly, faithfully, and intentionally. You may feel overlooked while you're developing. You may wonder why no one sees your effort, your sacrifice, your faithfulness. But that's by design. Hidden growth produces real power. When the time is right, the fruit will show itself, and it will speak louder than any announcement ever could. Don't confuse silence with stagnation. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's dead. Some of the most powerful miracles are happening beneath the surface. A seed doesn't make noise when it grows. One day it breaks through the soil and produces fruit for all to see. That's what happens when you trust God's timing and resist the urge to announce prematurely. Sometimes the need to announce comes from insecurity, from a desire to prove that something is happening. But true confidence doesn't need confirmation from others. It's enough to know that heaven has spoken. When you rest in that assurance, you can walk in peace, knowing that when God wants to make it public, He will. And when He does, it will be undeniable. Every vision has a gestation period. You can't rush divine timing. You can't skip stages. You must let the process unfold naturally. And part of that process is privacy, giving space for grace to work. The silence is not punishment, it's protection. The waiting is not wasted, it's preparation. Every moment of development is sacred, and every hidden step is essential for the final reveal. If you announce too soon, you may invite pressure you're not prepared for. You may attract eyes that watch but don't support. You may find yourself explaining what God hasn't yet finished defining. And when you do that, you risk turning your divine development into a public debate. So, learn to hold some things close to your heart. Not every plan needs to be posted. Not every revelation needs to be released. Some blessings grow best in silence. Some breakthroughs only flourish in private prayer. Trust that God knows when to bring it to light. When He does, it will be clear, complete, undeniable. Because what's developed by His hand never needs validation from human lips. And when the moment of unveiling comes, won't be because you announced it. It will be because God revealed it. The fruit of your patience will speak louder than any words you could have said. The manifestation will silence every doubt, every critic, and every fear. So keep quiet while it's developing. Protect your dream. Guard your anointing. Stay faithful in the hidden season. And when the time comes, let the results testify for you. Because what's truly from God doesn't need to be announced. It will reveal itself in due time. True confidence is not loud, and it doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need to shout, prove, or announce itself. Real confidence walks in the room with calm assurance, knowing that validation doesn't come from applause, but from purpose. It's steady. It's peaceful. It's the quiet knowing that you are who God says you are, even when no one else sees it yet. The world often mistakes noise for strength. We are surrounded by voices that say, speak louder, show more, be seen. Social media glorifies constant display. Every success posted, every step broadcasted, every achievement celebrated publicly. Genuine confidence doesn't need to perform. It is grounded, not in attention, but in identity. When you know who you are, you no longer feel pressured to prove it. Quiet confidence comes from inner stability. It's the peace that flows from knowing that your value doesn't rise and fall with opinions, status, or recognition. It's not about arrogance. It's about assurance. It's the understanding that you have nothing to prove because you are already enough. The loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes it's the quiet one who's already won the battle within. Confidence built on noise is fragile. It depends on others to keep it alive. The moment approval fades, insecurity takes over. But confidence rooted in truth is unshakable. It doesn't depend on likes, followers, or applause. It stands tall in silence because it knows its worth. Quiet confidence says, even if you don't see it yet, I know what's inside me. I know what God placed within me. And that's enough. There's something powerful about people who move silently, but purposefully. They don't announce every goal. They don't seek to prove their progress. They simply work, grow, and evolve, letting their results speak louder than words ever could. These are the people who understand that you don't have to be seen to be significant. Greatness often grows in quiet places, away from the spotlight. Confidence is quiet because it's not rooted in fear. Fear makes people loud, afraid of being overlooked, afraid of not being enough, afraid of being forgotten. But faith makes people calm. When you know that your destiny is secure in God's hands, you stop chasing validation and start walking in peace. You learn to rest in divine timing instead of forcing human recognition. Quiet confidence also carries discipline. It's not impulsive. It doesn't react to every voice, every opinion, or every challenge. It knows when to speak and when to stay silent. It understands that not every battle is worth fighting and not every critic deserves a response. Confident people don't waste energy defending what God has already defined. There's a strength in stillness that the world underestimates. When you're grounded in who you are, you don't panic when others doubt you. You don't rush when things take longer than expected. You don't crumble when you're misunderstood. You simply stay steady, knowing that truth always reveals itself in time. The confident heart doesn't fear delay because it understands that preparation is part of purpose. Confidence is quiet because it's rooted in faith, not force. It's the ability to stand tall even when life shakes you. It's the courage to keep walking even when the path isn't clear. It's the humility to trust that you don't have to control everything. You just have to be consistent. Quiet confidence whispers, I may not be there yet. I'm on my way. And I don't need to announce every step. I'll let my journey speak for itself. People often think that confidence is about dominance, about being the loudest, the most visible. But the truth is confidence is about security. It's about knowing your source. When your confidence comes from God, you don't have to advertise it. You simply live it. You carry peace in your posture, Strength in your silence and power in your presence. Quiet confidence allows you to walk away from things that don't align with your peace. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trying to fit into places that no longer match your purpose. You stop competing with others because you understand that your lane is unique. You learn that your value isn't determined by being seen. It's defined by being faithful. When you're confident, you can celebrate others without feeling threatened. You can be inspired without being insecure. You understand that someone else's light doesn't dim your own. Quiet confidence gives you the freedom to appreciate others while remaining anchored in your own identity. You stop chasing competition and start chasing growth. Silence, confidence matures. It's refined in the moments when no one is watching. When you're doing the work behind the scenes, when you're building your character, when you're staying faithful in the unseen places. That's where true confidence is born. It's not developed in applause, it's developed in alignment. When you walk in quiet confidence, you don't seek to impress, you seek to impact. You don't demand attention, your presence commands it naturally. Because peace and authenticity always speak louder than pride and performance. You learn that you don't have to push doors open, the right ones will open for you when it's time. Quiet confidence also protects you from burnout. When you stop striving for approval, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. You stop chasing temporary validation and start focusing on eternal purpose. You begin to see that your worth was settled before you ever performed, succeeded, or achieved. You were valuable when you were hidden, when you were overlooked, when no one was clapping, because your value is rooted in creation, not recognition. Confidence is quiet because it's built on truth. It doesn't need to argue. It doesn't need to prove. And it doesn't need to boast. It knows that actions reveal what words can't. The calm confidence of someone who knows who they are will always outlast the noise of those who pretend to be something they're not. So, walk quietly but powerfully. Let your consistency speak. Let your peace announce your strength. Let your humility reflect your confidence. You don't need to shout to show you're strong. Your silence can echo louder than words ever could. The confident spirit doesn't rush destiny. It doesn't chase validation. It simply trusts that the God who started the work will complete it. Trust that what's meant for you won't miss you. Trust that the right people, opportunities, and moments will align when the time is right. You don't have to make noise to make an impact. The most powerful movements in nature happen quietly. The sunrise, the tide, the blooming of a flower. They don't need to announce their arrival. Their beauty speaks for itself. And so does yours. Keep your peace. Stay grounded. Let your results do the talking. You are not overlooked. You are being refined. You are not unseen. You are being strengthened. And when the moment comes, quiet confidence you carry through the waiting will shine brighter than any noise could ever produce. There is a sacred power in stillness, place where the noise of the world fades, where striving ceases, and where the heart finally becomes quiet enough to hear the whispers of heaven. In a world obsessed with constant motion, stillness feels counterintuitive. But it is in that stillness that miracles are born. Miracles don't always happen in chaos, in noise, or in the rush. They manifest in stillness, in the calm surrender of a soul that has learned to trust the divine process even when nothing seems to be happening. Stillness is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is not the absence of movement, but the presence of peace. It's when you stop forcing, stop fighting, and stop trying to control outcomes that the supernatural begins to unfold. Miracles rarely appear in the hands of those who are restless. They are given to those who are still enough to receive. When you are still, you make room for the unseen hand of God to move. When you are still, your heart aligns with divine timing, your spirit becomes receptive, and your faith takes root in deeper soil. The greatest transformations often begin in the quiet. A seed does not shout while it grows. It breaks open in silence, buried in darkness. Yet within that hidden place, life is forming, but the soil may look still. But something powerful is happening beneath the surface. That's what stillness feels like. A space where nothing seems to move on the outside, yet everything is shifting within. Miracles are being prepared in moments of silence that the world calls nothing. What looks like stillness to you might be divine construction to heaven. When you stop striving and start surrendering, you make room for God to do what you cannot. The need to control, fix, force things often blocks the flow of divine movement. But when you enter stillness, when you quiet your fears, your doubts, and your overthinking, that's when the miraculous becomes possible. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about allowing something greater to happen, about stepping back so that the Creator can step in. The miracle of stillness is that it transforms your perspective before it changes your circumstance. Sometimes God doesn't still the storm. He stills you in the storm. You may be surrounded by noise, confusion, and uncertainty. Stillness teaches you that peace is not the absence of chaos. It's the presence of trust. When you learn to be still, your heart stops reacting and starts believing. You stop asking when and start saying whenever. You stop demanding outcomes and start aligning with divine order. Stillness requires faith, the kind of faith that doesn't need to see results to believe in them. It's easy to trust when everything is moving in your favor, but real faith is developed when everything seems paused. That's when you discover that stillness is not a delay, it's divine design. The waiting room of stillness is where preparation happens, where clarity forms, where your roots deepen. It's in those quiet hours that your heart becomes capable of holding the miracle you've been praying for. Miracles are not just supernatural events, they are divine alignments, moments when heaven and earth meet through faith. Stillness positions you for that alignment. It teaches you to stop running after blessings and start resting in them. It reminds you that what is meant for you cannot miss you. When you are still, you are not giving up. You are getting in sync. You are saying, I trust that what's for me will find me, not through striving, but through surrender. Some of the greatest miracles in life happen without an announcement. The caterpillar does not advertise its transformation. It disappears into stillness and emerges as a butterfly. The earth itself moves in silence, shifting tectonic plates without noise. Even your heartbeat, the rhythm that sustains your life, moves quietly. There's divine evidence all around that stillness carries power. Stillness is the space where revelation flows. In the quiet, your mind clears, your spirit listens, and your purpose becomes sharper. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, it's hard to hear divine instruction. But in the stillness, whispers become words and confusion turns into clarity. It's in that sacred quiet that divine direction is birthed. You begin to see not just what's happening, but why it's happening. Stillness gives you the wisdom to discern timing, to know when to move, when to speak, when to simply wait. Waiting in stillness doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening, just not visibly yet. Miracles don't always arrive with trumpets and signs. Sometimes they come quietly in the form of peace, a healed heart, or a sudden shift in perspective. You wake up one morning and what used to break you no longer does. That's a miracle. You face what once frightened you with calm assurance. That's a miracle. Storm didn't stop, but you found peace in the middle of it. That's a miracle too. Stillness teaches you that movement doesn't always mean progress. Sometimes standing still in faith is the most powerful thing you can do. When you resist the urge to rush ahead, you prove that your trust runs deeper than your timeline. You begin to realize that divine timing is not slow, it's precise. Every delay is a detail. Every pause has purpose. Every still moment is a setup for something greater than you imagined. Miracles manifest in stillness because stillness invites alignment. When your heart is calm, when your spirit is surrendered, when your mind is free from fear, that's when divine power flows effortlessly. You can't hear direction in noise. You can't receive peace in panic. You can't experience miracles when you're consumed by worry. When you become still, truly still, you begin to experience the supernatural ease of divine orchestration. The still heart sees what the restless one misses. It recognizes blessings in disguise, opportunities in delays, and growth in silence. Stillness doesn't mean inaction. It means inner awareness. It's being so grounded in faith that even when everything seems uncertain, Your spirit remains anchored. That's the atmosphere where miracles breathe in hearts that are still enough to trust, yet strong enough to wait. When you learn to live in stillness, you stop chasing what's already yours. You stop striving for things that are on their way. You begin to realize that you don't need to fight for what God has already promised. You just need to remain positioned. Stillness doesn't steal progress, it sustains it. It keeps you steady while the unseen pieces fall into place. So if life feels quiet right now, don't mistake it for emptiness. May be divine preparation. The silence before the breakthrough, the stillness before the shift, the calm before the miracle. Because miracles rarely happen in the rush. They are birthed in the rest. Be still. Let the noise settle. Let the world spin while you remain anchored in peace. The God who moves mountains does not need your panic, only your presence. And when your heart becomes still enough to trust, that's when heaven begins to move.